Former President Trump slams the current administration for its, quote, catastrophic failures on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show yesterday. Listen.
We want to know what you think about what's going on right now. How do you view this Biden administration now that we're months into it?
Well, it's catastrophic. If you look at the border, if you look at the way other countries are treating us, they treat us like dirt. Europe treats us so badly economically and even military. If you look at NATO, I got $430 billion by being strong on the NATO. They weren't paying their bills. And so we were defending them and getting, excuse me, I hate to use the language, but it's very descriptive, getting screwed on trade.
That's a little of the sentiment that he gave Clay, and Clay Travis is one half of that duo. He joins us right now. He's president of Outkick. Clay, what was the president like? I mean, you've talked to him before. How would you characterize what he told you, his mindset?
I think he's raring to go. You know, he had his rally in Ohio over the weekend, and he talked to us for a full hour, Brian. And, I mean, look, the reality is I think he misses the fight. I think he recognizes that there isn't necessarily that head of the party to go toe-to-toe with Joe Biden and the Democrats right now. And I think he relishes that opportunity to step in and try to fill the void. Now, the challenges without his social media accounts make that a little bit more difficult. He said they are working on a new platform to allow him to communicate more effectively with his audience. But he was supposed to be on with us for 15 minutes, and he stayed for the full hour. And I think he would have stayed another hour because I think he enjoyed talking to our audience and being able to reach his people.
And you. And here's what else he said about his future. Listen.
You mentioned 2024. The number one question we are getting as people are listening to you talk is, when will President Trump let us know whether he's going to run again?
Well, the most logical date would be right after 2022, right? You try and win the Senate. You want to win the House. Very, very great chance in the House.
And that would be key. He hadn't said that before.
No, he hasn't. And he's kept his cards kind of close to the vest in terms of what his timing would look like. And certainly there are many people out there, I would imagine, who are raring to go to be able to go theoretically after Kamala Harris, because I think, like most of your audience, I don't believe there's any way Joe Biden is going to run for re-election. So will the president go? Will he make that decision after the 22 races? I think probably partly what happens in that 22 race and how effective is he on the campaign trail, and how healthy does he feel as we get closer to the big undertaking that would be another presidential campaign.
And Clay, we won't have time to do the sports thing, so I'll stick with this real quick. The president lost a lot of, it looks like he lost a lot of weight personally. He wouldn't have picked that up on radio, but you saw it the other night. And number two, I think it has a lot to do with this case in New York, don't you? If this case has teeth, it's a problem.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. Look, he is a fighter. If anybody who followed President Trump, and I think he wants to be in that political combat. And if potentially there are charges that are brought against him, it may get him even more riled up to want to fight and run again in 2024. It'll be fascinating to watch. Right,
and there's a lot of other candidates there, should he not. But I can't see any of them getting in should he get in. I just don't. I think they'll clear the field for him. Hey, I
think you're right.
Yeah, go to outkick.com. It's always great to get a perspective on Clay. I'll talk to you on radio, too. And, of course, we'll watch you and Buck Sexton. We'll listen to you at noon. You took over in the rush slot. So thanks so much, Clay, for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Look forward to it.